everyone, this is Crystal, and today I am working in my creativity journal. This is week 9. As you can see, I already have my photos printed for this week, and there are quite a few. It was a very busy, crafty week. They are currently just laid out on the days on which they were taken, but they will likely move around on this spread as I start working on it and get them balanced across the 2 pages. For supplies, I have a few things. So I have a couple of the sets from the February release from Colorcast Designs. I have the About Me set, the weekly wood veneer, and then the Get Crafty set. And as I record this, the Get Crafty set is not available. This has sold out, but these 2 still are. But stock changes all the time at the Colorcast Designs shop, so be sure to go check them out if you're interested in any of these little bits. I will definitely link that shop down below in the description box. So to go along with these, I have the Have a Nice Day set from Traci Reed. This was a freebie that she offered recently from her newsletter and the Sweet Shop Designs shop. So I've just printed these out on sticker paper. There were a couple actual sticker sheets. That's what these first 2 are. And then she had some 3x4 cards, which I have sized down to fit the boxes of this template, which is from Retro Hip Co. And then there were some papers and embellishments. I've printed out just a few of the embellishments just because I had the 2 sticker sheets. I didn't think I needed all of them. And then for the papers, I did the same thing that I have previously done with the Simple Stories digital set that I used. And I just sized them to 2 inches wide and printed them on sticker paper. There's a little, when you do 2 inches wide, there's just a little 1 inch space left. So I just added another paper there just to fill out the paper, make full use of my sticker sheets. And then I can use these inside the squares if I just trim them down a little bit, or I can use them as kind of wide washi strips, or however I might want to use them. So I found this is a really good way to incorporate lots of different paper patterns into just this 2-page planner spread. So that is what I have. That's what I'll be working with. I am going to go ahead and put you on fast forward and get started. I'm going to start by just trimming out all of the little bits and pieces that are a part of this kit. I just find that it's easier for me to work with things if I have them all trimmed out ahead of time. I know a lot of people like to just trim them out as they need them, and it's probably easier to store them that way in the end. But if I don't have them trimmed out, then it's harder for me to move them around and play and see where I like things. So I'm just going to go ahead and trim all of the little bits and pieces out. I don't make you watch that whole process. I just use a scissors to fussy cut out all of the little stickers. I do leave the paper strips in place on those sheets just because those don't really need to be trimmed out for me to figure out where I want to use them. But the rest of it, I just trimmed out by hand. So now I'm playing with the photos and trying to get them balanced across the page, keeping them mostly on the days that they were taken, but I do allow myself to move them around a little bit if it just makes more sense for the layout of the page. And then I'm going to start with the cards. So there were just a few of these 3x4 cards that I've sized down to fit these squares, and I'm just figuring out which ones I want to use. I don't end up using all of them, just a few of them, and then I can start going through all of those little stickers, all the little fun bits, and figuring out what I want to add to the page. So I know that I want that Get Crafty acrylic piece to go on the kind of title bar to the left-hand side there. So I went ahead and placed that down just so that I wouldn't forget that that's where I want that to go. And then I can go through all these other little stickers and just play. I mean, this is really just a fun process for me. This is just about having fun with these supplies and with this page. This is just for me. So I don't expect anyone else to ever want to look at this. This is for me to track my own creative habits, my own creative growth, and what I'm doing in my kind of creative life. So there are no rules. There are no expectations of this having to be perfect. It's just kind of free form play for me, which is why I love this album so much. I'm having so much fun putting together these spreads. They do end up taking me a bit longer than a lot of my other projects do. So you may notice this video is a bit longer, and that's just because there's so much here. I'm documenting so much on this spread. it feels like even more so than with my Project Life spreads, because I don't know, it's more personal, I guess. So I feel like I have a bit more to say, and because I can play with products, it can be girly and pink and busy, and I don't feel like that's not representative of my whole family like I would if this were a Project Life spread. So I can just add all the things and just have fun with it. And that's exactly what I'm doing. I am putting down all the stickers on this page, having so much fun playing with these supplies. These are really, really beautiful supplies, and I can't believe that Traci Reed is offering these for free. I'll definitely link her and all of these little bits down below in the description box, so you can go pick them up for yourself if you haven't already. But they're just so much fun. I'm a big fan of Traci Reed's designs, so I was super happy to see that she was offering this for free. So again, still just playing, plopping down all the things, seeing what I like where, and not all of this will stay on here. Most of it does, but not all of it does, just because it was looking a little bit busy in the end. But like I said, a lot of it does stay on there just because it was just too much fun not to include. So as I'm doing this, a few things I'm keeping in mind are a balance of colors. So there are lots of colors in this collection, lots of colors on this spread, but I want to make sure that each of those colors is spread out across the spread. So like for instance, there is that light pink today sticker on Monday. Because I've added that there, I've added light pink to the Wednesday and to Thursday and to Saturday to kind of pull that color across the spread. And that's what I'm doing for each of those colors, just trying to make sure that they are represented in kind of all of the quadrants of this spread. So to add my title, I decided to pull out some thickers from my stash. These are Heidi Swap from Color Fresh. Is that the name of the line from last year, I believe? But the colors matched perfectly, and I thought they would be a fun addition. So I'm just spelling out week 9, keeping it very simple at the top of my page. They are not super sticky. They are chipboard thickers, so of course I will go back and add some glue to them later on once I start gluing everything down, which I think I am about to start. I'm pretty happy with how it's looking so far, so I'm going to start with this this sticker that was one of the papers from the kit, and I'm just using a 2-inch strip and left it whole and ran it all the way down to the bottom of the page, and that's going to fill in that kind of blank space to the left side of these pages. And then I can start gluing in all of the other things. So I'm going to start with the biggest pieces, start with the kind of 3x4, quote unquote 3x4 cards and my photos first, and then I'll go back in afterwards and fill in with the smaller bits and pieces. So just making sure I get those bigger pieces in place before I start adding all the smaller bits, and that's going to help me keep my layers in order and make it so that I don't have to go back and try and lift things up too much later on. I do most of my journaling off camera for this spread, but on this label I knew it was going to overlap the photo a little bit and it would be hard to write on if I did it after I had it adhered to the page. So I just went ahead and added my journaling with a gel pen before I stuck that down. But the rest of my journaling I will end up doing off camera. So again, just going through and sticking all these things down. Those two photos were actually taken on the same day, but that's where I took some liberties and actually put them side by side, just because it was looking a little too like there were too many straight vertical lines if I left them stacked on that one day. I like the look of them next to each other a bit better, and then I am using the embellishments to kind of overlap the two to denote that they are part of the same story. I'm also using a lot of the little labels from this kit and layering them up, and I will use those to write my journaling on later on. I am also using my little pokey tool to get the backing of these stickers off. That was a tip that I got from one of you, actually, from one of my subscribers, and it has made all the difference. So I was really struggling with this sticker paper and getting all the backing pieces off of all these tiny little bits. It was it was almost bad enough to make me not want to use the sticker paper anymore, but somebody suggested that I use a pokey tool to kind of help peel off the backing, and it works like a dream. So thank you very much for that tip. It was exactly the little tip that I needed to make the sticker paper work. Okay, so continuing just to do all the things, stick all the things down. Again, keeping in mind all the things I mentioned before about balance of color. So I felt like my title was just kind of floating up there a little bit, and it needed something else to help ground it. So I decided to go back to the papers from this kit, and I tore a little piece of one of the green papers and added that, but it still felt like it needed a little something else. So I cut this piece of yellow paper as well, and I'm going to layer those two together at the top of the left hand column, and then I can add my thickers on top of that, and that's going to give my week title Somewhere to Live. I like the way that that looks much better. And then I think I am just about ready to glue down this Colorcast Designs piece as well. So it says get crafty, and I have another little wood veneer that says crafter. So, and then also a little sticker that has the days of the week, and then at the bottom says every day. So it kind of says crafter, get crafty every day. And I really like the way that that ends up looking. So to glue that down, I just used some glossy accents. That's the best way I've found to glue down these acrylic pieces. It holds them very well. They are not going anywhere once they are glued down with some glossy accents. And of course, those wood veneer pieces have adhesive already on them. They just have a little peel off backing, so they're super easy to stick down. They are also super thin, so I love them for projects like this. Although obviously I am using an acrylic piece on this page. I had in the beginning tried to keep this album, or the pages in the album, super flat. I didn't want to add too much dimension. I was a little bit worried about what album they were going to go into and making sure it all fit into one album for the year. But I've ended up putting them in a Heidi Swap storyline album, an 8.5 by 11 storyline album. It was one that I had actually used for a project last year that I never finished, and decided just to poach it for this project. Although I will probably get another one eventually for that other project if I ever go back and finish it. So that's what I'm using, and it's very thick. It's got a very thick spine, so there's really not any danger of me going outside of this album or needing a second one. So I'm allowing myself to add a little bit more dimension these days, like that acrylic piece, and actually it doesn't even add that much dimension. It doesn't make it super thick, so it worked out just fine. So as you can see, while I've been gabbing, I have moved on to the right-hand side of the page, and I am trimming out one of the little embellishment pieces to fit into the top Sunday square. So I struggled a little bit to get it the right size. I always struggle a little bit to get them the right size, even though I have the dimensions and it should be pretty easy for me to figure it out. I still have to trim it several times before I get it right. But I finally got it, and I could adhere it down in that square, and then again just adhering all the other little bits and pieces down, starting with the larger pieces. They don't have to lift too many things up, and then adding the smaller bits as I go. So this week I had a pretty crafty week. If you watched my Project Life video from yesterday, then you may have heard me say that I had a very productive week in my craft room, and actually included some of the photos from this week in that spread as well. So I had a lot to talk about, a lot to say. I did an unboxing of the March kit from Citrus Twist Kits. I was also a guest designer for Thoughtful Studio, and created 2 projects for them, or for her, for Marie, using the Tessa Pen Pal collection, which is beautiful. I also did my regular Project Life and Creativity Journal posts this week. I did a Colorcast Designs project on Monday, I think it was, or Monday or Tuesday. And I also spent some time working on some new things that will be in my Etsy shop in about a week. So yeah, I had a really productive week, had a lot of fun playing, and ended up having a lot to say about the things that I was working on. I also started a new project, which is in what I'm working on right now, that little bottom corner of a notebook and of some coffee, of course, because that's what you need when you start a new project, a good cup of coffee. And I talk about that on this spread in my journaling, which you'll see in the close-up photos. So like I said, I don't do my journaling on camera. I do it off camera just because it does take me a while to sit down and write all the things that I want to write. So I don't make you watch that part. So I think I'm almost done here. I'm just going to adhere down the last little bits, and then I do end up creating a little cluster at the top of this page, but I wanted to bring the two pages back together before I did that, just to make sure I was getting everything balanced and that everything looked right. So I'm going to work on that top cluster here now, adding that little strip of the green star paper that I had torn off for my title, and then just layering up a few other little bits over here. This doesn't really serve any purpose. It's just decorative. It's just fun. It's just a way to get more of these gorgeous bits and pieces onto this page. So as I finish up, the last thing I'm going to do is just check for balance. So I'm looking at color, making sure there's good distribution of color. I'm also going to realize that the wood veneer pieces that I have are I have 4 of them on the page, and I do like to include things in odd numbers, so I'm looking for a place to add a 5th one. And I realized that I have 2 of them at the top and two of them at the bottom and none in the middle. So I know for sure that I definitely want to add one in the middle. So that's where that last one is going to go. And then just, again, adding the final little bits. So there are some close-up photos coming up where you can see all of the journaling that I did. I also added a few enamel hearts from my stash from an old Hip Kit Club kit to just finish off the spread. And I did not do any doodling on this one. I think this is the first spread I've done in my creativity journals where I haven't done any doodling at all, but I just wasn't feeling it this week. So no doodling. Thank you all so much for watching. I really hope that you've enjoyed this process and that you've gotten some inspiration from it. If you have any questions, feel free to leave those in the comments down below, and I'll be sure to get back to you. Everything I've used will be linked in the description box as well, so you can check that out there. If you enjoyed this video, I do appreciate a thumbs up. That lets me know that you like what I'm doing and that I should do more of it. And if you aren't already a subscriber, I'd love to have you, so be sure to hit that subscribe button. And if you haven't already, click that bell. That will let you know when I upload new videos, so be sure to do that as well. Thank you all so much for watching. I will see you all back here soon.